10 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is a regular Commissioners Court meeting, County of Starr, Monday, July 26th. Let the record show that we do have quorum, everyone being present. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public comments, Karina?
No, there's none, Your Honor.
Vendors list, Mr. Pettis.
You should have a copy of the vendors list. There's about 8 new vendors. We've reviewed them and we recommend that we approve them.
Motion to approve, Your Honor. Second.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And claims, Mr. Pettis.
Yes, again, you should have a copy of the claims. We reviewed the claims and recommend that we approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 is presentation by Hollis Rutledge and Associates. Mr. Rutledge, if you would please take the mic.
Excuse my slow motion. I was complaining to some of the county commissioners that all I experience these days is Bengay preparation H and a little bit of marijuana.
I think that preparation H don't belong in the knee.
I don't think so,
It'll
Commissioner.
have more effect somewhere else than the knee.
I believe
I
that.
mean, you need to consult with your doctor because I think you got it in the wrong place.
Anyway, I've disseminated for you a quick summation of some of the things we've been doing. First of all, I want to tell you that I got some good news. Congressman Cuellar has been extremely very good to Stark County. He's been able to secure an earmark through the Subcommittee of Agriculture in Congress. I must admit it's been a very tedious, very slow, and a very meticulous process to get to where we are now, in that we obviously, the goal of the judge and the Commissioner's Court was not to increase any taxes and burden to the taxpayers of the county. This was an effort that took a lot of coordination, a lot of time between our associate Paco Valentin, who some of you know, he was a former immediate state director for Rural Development Agency, also known as Farmers Home back then, with USDA, who now works for us. And he worked in tandem and very closely with Congressman Cuellar and his staff, as well as a judge, relative to a $2,392,763 earmark that he has proposed and approved through the Subcommittee of Agriculture that's going to be proposed to the Senate. As you know, this goes through a big process. Now it goes to the Senate for approval, but their main issue right now, as everybody knows in the news, is the infrastructure bill, so they're still debating that. Hopefully there'll be a resolution of that here this week. Having said that, this particular earmark hopefully will be placed under the budget of the USDA Rural Development Agency, who will then allow for a 35% grant from the total amount of $6.8 million that will be needed for the renovation of the courthouse. The remaining balance would hopefully come out of some other funds, including consultation with Estrada Hinojosa, your financial advisors, and Bobby Villarreal, to be able to complete the project. But 35% of the total development cost for the the exterior of the courthouse,
I
which
think
includes the roof.
I think that's the interior, no?
Excuse me, the interior of the roof of the courthouse, which includes the roof of the courthouse. But I think the 35% is pretty good. I have to commend Congressman Cuellar for his efforts. It's been a long time coming, and his efforts has paid off. And thank God he's in the Appropriations Committee, as you know, which is a very important position to be in today in Congress, that allowed for him to allocate this amount of money for the Starr County Courthouse.
Mr. Raleigh, before you continue, so that means that your agency was the one that really Congressman Cuellar didn't have much to do. You guys are the one that orchestrated everything to get this money.
Well,
Congressman
no.
would say, I need this so much money or whatever. And no, he doesn't need help from nobody, right?
Yeah, well, no, we needed the congressman, and he accepted the challenge.
The judge has been talking to him for a long time. We have been talking to him for a long time to earmark monies for Starr County.
Yeah.
But now it seems like I mean, you guys are the one that had to organize all this stuff so it could be done.
Yeah, well, part of the issue, Commissioner, was that this is the first year that Congress was allowed for earmarks. Earmarks were terminated, I hate to say this, by the Republicans about 10 years ago. So they couldn't do an earmark like they used to years ago. If you recall, years ago, a congressman could allocate X number of dollars for projects, you know. In this particular case, they allow each congressman to come up with 10 projects, 10 priorities. And when they finally allowed the Congress this year, just this year, after 10 years of absence in not having earmark authority, they now have it.
I understand that.
And now, and consequently, we seized on that opportunity and and helping the staff and coordinating with his staff, mainly his legislative director, Travis Knight, to be able to place this language that was necessary to do the earmark. But for about 10 years, Commissioner.
No, I understand that. You know, I recall all that. I've been here. But what I'm trying to say that apparently what it looks like that the staff of Congressman didn't do very much. You were the guy were in charge of this stuff, even though he's got all the power to say this is money that I'm going to need here, and he's got his staff. You're going to earmark and do this is what I need it for.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to do that.
Yeah. Well, we tried everything we can, but because we could not go through the regular program, because the regular program
I understand
only
that.
was going to give us $50,000 grant, and the rest was going to be loan.
Yeah, but I understand that. What I'm saying here, that you're insinuating that your staff and all did all this work to get this monies from the Henry Cuellar's office.
Yeah, no, we worked together in tandem.
It takes both the congressman and the Mr. Hollis firm. You know, they try and justify it, but then the congressman needs to push it in Washington. If not, we don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, if he doesn't push it, we don't get it.
But you know, well, he earmarks. He's the one that says what is it going to be used for?
But if he doesn't earmark it, we don't get it. So we need his help.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He did already.
So hopefully, once it goes through, you know how it works,
I know how
Commissioner.
it works.
Once it goes through the Senate, but their focus right now in the Senate is the infrastructure bill. Once all of that is settled, and they apply the budget for USDA, hopefully there won't be a continuing resolution, which means that if they don't approve the budget for USDA department, then they have to use the same budget from last year until they settle the total budget for 2022. And once they settle the budget for 2022, part of it will include this money that we just mentioned for the courthouse, which roughly will be about 35% grant.
35% grant?
Más o menos.
Only?
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be 75-25.
No, that's for the drainage. This particular program for public facilities would only allow for a $50,000 grant.
Nada.
Que no era nada?
Well, no, we already spent with you guys over 100,000 to get 50.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So,
it just don't make sense.
so,
Yeah, if I may add here, Hollis, that's for the interior.
that's for the
The
interior.
exterior, we're going through the Texas Historical
Texas
Commission,
Historical Commission.
and we're hoping to get about a 75% grant on
We're
the,
looking at up to a 75% grant,
There you go.
yeah. And that would require, we didn't apply with the Texas Historical Commission first because it was going to take a lot of time, because the Texas Historical Commission has already indicated that they have an interest in funding the exterior
Right.
phase 2 of the project.
Right.
But we're going to, they're going to require a historical preservation master plan that we're going to have to do before we submit the application. And we're already working with them in tandem, but we wanted to focus on this first
Right.
before we did phase 2.
Yeah, and the reason I mentioned that is for Commissioner Garza, what he was asking, the 35%, once it's all put together, we'll probably end up with about a 65% grant.
Más o menos, yeah.
Yeah.
Once we get phase 2 and phase 1 and phase 2
Complete.
together, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
To be
substantial.
honest with you, Mr. Raleigh, I said, it's been 3 years and you started. We still have not seen one penny, either for the drainage, for the parks, or anything. We have not even seen the plan, or, and no contact whatsoever, They came out once, they were supposed to go back. We don't know what, we got some money that we want to spend in our
The
precinct,
American
but we
Rescue
don't know where we at,
And that's my second report on the drainage project that we've been working with Commissioner Peña.
Yeah, but we got problem with the drainage over there, and we were supposed to submit projects for the parks and everything.
And that'll be my third report. So consequently, I think that we're well on our way now, finally, on the courthouse project. On the drainage project, we were wanting to submit something to USDA first, and Commissioner Peña can chime in here, but it required an environmental study, and it required a civil engineering study. We found out in the ensuing conversations and meetings we had that it required that we came up with some estimates which was too exorbitant for us to absorb, of $150,000 from an engineer to do the environmental. So then that's when we said, wait a minute, is there any other funding sources that we can apply for until we find out whether we can get somebody else to do it for a lot less? That's what prompted us to apply to the General Land Office, which we did. In May, they considered all of them. They ran out of money for this first round. We can still apply for it, but we decided to go ahead and go forward and talk to Roel Gomez, who's a product of Starr County, who's now the district director, to go ahead and go forward and apply for the USDA money that we originally intended to. It's up to a 75% grant, but it does require an environmental study and a civil engineering study. The civil engineering portion is somewhat okay. It's the environmental study that required a substantial amount of money, something like $150,000, which we thought it was too exorbitant. And-
Super.
Yeah, and we figure, this is maybe 50,000, maybe 60, but not 150,000. So that's why we decided to go to GLO, because it was going to be a quicker turnaround. And we just found out late May that they funded most of the Gulf Coast area, and that's where all the money went. But it's an ongoing process. So we are now back to USDA in submitting. We met with Roel this past week, at the office, and we're wanting to meet with the commissioner to go ahead and go forward and using the same scope of work and the same budget that we did for GLO and include it into the application for USDA. There's no deadlines for the USDA application whatsoever. We can submit it tomorrow, the next day, or next week. But we have most of it done because we had to do it for the GLO application. So hopefully we can try to get a better deal for getting someone to do the environmental study, Commissioner, because era mucho dinero, just too much money.
Your Honor, the money that we got for the drainage project there, where did it came from?
The money that we got.
That they used over at the drain up there in his area.
In
The
Aquarium?
one that we didn't complete?
Yeah.
The Moreno project, that you came from what?
I think that was, I think it was GLO.
That's why we already had to return money back. So, I mean, we're still at the same point, you know, that we have not been able to finish that project. It's been over 10 years or more. And I told before the late commissioner, I said, you can wait another 10 more years and it's not going to be done. Because the process here is too slow and we have to, requirements after requirements, then we have to send the money back and nothing has been done yet. And it ain't going to be done. I don't see a way that nothing can be done. There's too many obstacles in those kind of projects. We already had an environmental study before. That's how we got the grant. So now they're asking for another one. So what's so special about having to do an environmental again?
As we discussed with USDA officials, they require another one because it's an expanded.
Somebody needs a job. Andrés, sí, esa es la mera neta. Tiene un ingeniero que necesita trabajar.
The third thing I wanted to report to you is that now that you have received the American Rescue Plan stimulus 2, this is the second stimulus. You got one last year, now you're getting another one, but it's called the American Rescue Plan to the tune of, I think, $12,500,000. Some of that money, Commissioner, could be provided that we use that money for purposes of reimbursement of law enforcement, for instance. If that money eligibility is good for infrastructure and it's good for paying police officers.
Well, you can just forget about it. We know what we can use, and we're working on doing something in our precincts. That's what we need.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that you all have monies that's been allocated for individual county commissioners' districts. And that money we can possibly tap on because we didn't have it before. Now we have it. Where we can stretch that dollar with Texas Parks and Wildlife because an application in this particular case is due for Parks and Recreation with Texas Parks and Wildlife in October. So we have time to
Let me ask you, how about when we went through this 3 years ago that we started, you never submitted an application for Parks and Recreation?
No, because it required a matching, and we didn't have the matching.
Who said that you didn't have the matching? You didn't consult with me or anybody that if we had money to whatever project I wanted to do there, can I put some money there to match the portion?
Yeah. And we felt based upon what we found out that there were other priorities that you had, Commissioner, so we didn't.
No, well, each commissioner has their own priorities.
Right.
And that's what we told you. Each commissioner has, and everything comes up to priority number 1 for each precinct.
Right.
You know? I'm not going, because you have to work on the drain up there, and here I'm going to sit there 3 years and nothing going to come into my precinct.
That's a separate project, yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And we can do that.
No, I mean.
Now that we know that.
It's been 3 years, Mr. Hollis, you know, and I mean, we already spent over $100,000 and we still haven't gotten 1 penny. And prior to that, we paid a lady $30,000. Nothing happened, and I think prior to that, we've spent $20,000 too, and nothing here.
Well.
You know, I mean.
As I
they
said,
kinda getting ripped off and, you know,
I think that we've done our due diligence, Commissioner. It takes time, especially when we were focusing on some of these projects, and we're hoping that there will be light at the end of the tunnel here very, very shortly, now that we have a lot more money to play with.
but yeah, but no. This money we got is totally different and apart, you know.
Right,
Isn't that for your?
No, but you can use that to extend it, to stretch your dollar.
Well, I got very, very little faith on that, I can be honest with you,
Right.
because, you know, I mean, 3 years to get something going, an application is a long, long time,
Yes, it is.
very long.
Yeah, it's just a part of the process. Unfortunately, we have no control over it because of Congress and the way the rules are.
Let's forget about it. Let's talk about the other project that we had encountered to do with Parks and Wildlife and all these things that you mentioned. I hear several projects.
Right.
Or organizations that you want to apply for.
Right. And like I said, we can apply for those park projects now that there's going to be a substantial amount of money that's been allocated by the legislature to Parks and Wildlife. And that's due in October. So,
Well, we'll chill see, like I said, but I haven't, like I said, I haven't gotten with your staff just once, and they go by, and they told to come back, we needed a bunch of stuff, nobody showed up.
Right.
So I gave up on it, you know, and that's why I asked the judge that we need to talk to you.
sure,
Because,
absolutely.
you know, I mean, it's been a long time, and like I said, we have gotten $0, not one penny for the county.
Well, Commissioner, believe me, we're doing our due diligence, and we'll get together with your staff here very shortly, especially now that the state has more money for Parks and Wildlife. And we'll set up something for you, with you and your staff, here shortly. Because we're in a short fuse, we gotta submit something by October.
The thing is, you know, let me tell you something. Let me ask you something. You submitted an application in October. How long would it take to be approved?
It's usually about 5 to 6 months to get it approved, to go through the process.
Okay, so before this, that you say they're due now in October, before then, you guys didn't submit no application with Parks and
No,
Life?
because they had hardly any funding. The state didn't have any funding. Now they do. They have a lot more funding now than they've had ever before.
But when you all came by, you said, we're gonna apply for all these funds to
Right.
Parks and Wildlife and all these areas. You didn't tell that there was no money available.
Yeah. Right.
Well, anyways, water under the bridge, but I'll tell you, I'm dissatisfied that so long it's been taken, we have not received one penny,
I understand.
with all due respect.
I understand.
Any other questions, comments? Well, I guess we just keep working at it, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll,
And then we'll be in touch with
Get
you
some
with,
projects.
and Bobby,
okay.
and we'll be in touch with you, Commissioner. And we'll be in touch with you, Commissioner, shortly.
Thank you so much for coming over and
Okay.
inviting us.
Now we can apply my Bengay again.
And don't apply that preparation here, it doesn't go there, it goes somewhere else, that can help you better.
Okay.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
Hollis.
We'll see you all.
Bye-bye. Okay, going on to item number 7. This is to approve a declaration for 2021 Operation Lone Star for the luncheon, and this is regard to PO 128405. I guess it's just authorizing for us to pay for the luncheon. And this is for the VIPs from Operation Lone Star, the military. Moved in second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8 is to approve a loan to pay for a Bobcat in the amount of $24,447, and this is for the transfer station.
Wait a second, but I have a question, Ms. Guerra. This was gonna be done by, ¿cómo se llama? We're gonna ask for a loan from,
The
Well,
COG,
from, is it,
the HUD?
the COG.
See, the
COG is gonna, it's approved to the COG, Nene?
Yes, this is a reimbursable, loan, and, it's for that Bobcat.
Sí, para el
Remember that I
Bobcat
had
loan,
asked,
yeah. And it's a brand new, and it costs
Brand new with attachments.
on attachment for 26,000.
The actual, no, the amount was like 29,000, so from our budget, we're only gonna put like 3,000 and some odd dollars.
Pero no está mal, porque
No está
it
nada mal.
went to the buy board, but in about
Yes,
50,000.
it went to the buy board.
Yeah.
I do have a motion, a second. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, this is an action item, and this is to approve a service contract with the Industrial Foundation so that they can oversee and run our American Rescue Plan Fund. I believe you all have a copy of the contract there in your packets. This is for the, so they can manage and help us with applying as to how we spend the money, what's eligible and what's not. So this is for the 12-point-some billion dollars, and I guess the contract will be for the length of the, until we run out of money. Moved and second to approve, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Your Honor,
Uh-huh.
now that we're on this,
Yes, sir.
when can we start drawing the monies? Or, I mean, I have already a proposal to buy 3 pumps and I talked to Rose, that they're eligible. So I got everything ready. When can I need to submit a PO?
We can,
Through
yeah.
how do we go about, who do we contact, or through what account, or what?
Okay, that will be what they were gonna help us with.
So then we-
Good morning, Judge.
Good
Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, so an account has already been set up where that money is deposited. So we will get with the auditor's office to ensure, because the POs, it's going to be exactly how you've been doing POs. Right now, they will just be credited over that account.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's say we call the judge's office, we need a PO for this amount, okay? And we call them, say, this is gonna be from the rescue plan? Or-
Right,
or
yes.
That's what we have to tell the.
Yes, correct. Yeah, this will be identified as the rescue plan fund,
Okay.
because however X amount, I'm just going to use a random amount. See, everybody had $1 million or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Then we start debiting the dollars until they're spent out. But what we'll do is we'll get with the auditor's office today, and we will come up with a description to ensure that claim and PO is just for that
Because
fund,
I
and there's no
have-
confusion.
I'm running the vendors list, and it's 3 pumps, you have to continue pumping that water, because then it takes about
Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks to get those pumps in.
Yeah, I think that's a very wise use of that money.
Those are obviously uses. What we're proposing to do, and I know Nilda reached out to Sandra at the judge's office to next week. Well, it will be next month, but next week to have a workshop so that we can go over all of the items. I know we've had conversations with everyone about some of the things that you want to do, and for the most part, everything that you've mentioned is
Right.
applicable.
1.5.
Pero ahorita 7.5 ahorita.
750.
Oh, oh,
750 to start off.
right.
¿Por qué no lo va a tener Romeo?
Oh, ahorita it is a total of 12 million, but like you all remember, it is split into two payments. So the first draw has already been done. It's already with the county, and that first draw was obviously for $6 million.
I'll tell my secretary to call it in, so we need to order those pumps.
Yeah, and that's how the rest of it will do. So what we will be doing is that every time that we will work with the auditor so that we also have a running balance, may not be perfect, but that'll be
Yeah,
close
no, but
to.
I'll keep a tap on mine.
I'm sure you all will. I'm sure you all will.
guarantee you.
Now, I will tell you, we do want to add something to what Mr. Rutledge did say when he mentioned that you can use these monies as leverage monies for other grants, and that is true.
Yeah,
but-
but that's about, it's been 3 years.
No, I
And that's-
understand.
I mean.
But I want to tell everyone
Ya hasta el caballo encillado se quiere montar, párate.
that in order to do that, that money has to be money that for example, that you're using as credit because you already spent money and you're just getting it back. And once that money gets into the general fund, then you can use it as matching. You cannot use it as matching into a grant directly from the money that you have there, just so that you all know. It has to be first used. That's why he was talking about paying law enforcement, because you can claim those salaries. There's a lot of things that we're going to go over what you can do, but most importantly is for everyone to maybe get a list of priority of maybe 3 things that you want to do, and then we can clean them up or clear them up in a way where they're, and if they're absolutely out of the scope of what we can do, then our job is to try and help find how to make them fit.
Quiere venir a enseñar el Padre Nuestro al cura, pues como si lo reza todos los días en la misa.
Okay, understood. Any other questions from anybody on that?
No.
No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rose. Okay, did I call for the vote, Adrian?
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
I
It
did.
was
Yes.
yesterday.
Okay, item 10 is also an action item, and this is a contract with Texas Department of Family and Protective Services for legal reimbursement. Do you know what that's about?
Yes, sir, this is the annual contract with the CPS legal services. It's the reimbursement to the county from the state on those legal.
Motion to approve, Your Honor. Second.
Moved and second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11 is to approve a donation that was made by Valley Partnership Foundation, of which Rose was instrumental in acquiring for us. It was $35,000. We're asking that $15,000 go to the scholarship fund that we give to the children or to the kids of our employees, and $20,000 goes back into general fund.
Judge, on this scholarships, how do they are categorized, or who approves them, or what? Or it has to be on the employee's kid?
They have to be sons or daughters of county employees that graduate from high school. No one else qualifies. And everyone that applies gets a scholarship. No, children.
Hijos, no nietos.
No children. And this, the $15,000 doesn't mean we're gonna spend it all in 1 year, you know, it's just so that we don't have to be at the end looking for donations to pay. This will kind of have a seed money in there.
So anybody that applies will get it,
Yes.
or it has to be screened?
¿Cómo?
Anybody
No.
that applies will get one?
Anyone that applies that meets that they are children of employees
Right,
will get it.
okay, no hay con que
Uno sí,
cualquiera
uno
o nada
no,
de eso.
no.
Feos, prietos, chulos.
Well, the only thing is they have to be children, and then they actually don't get the money until they enroll
Right.
in a
No, of
college or
course, yeah.
school or something.
Oh, I agree with that.
Is there a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve. Second, Your Honor.
Moved and second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12 through 27 are budget amendments. Mr. Pettis, are those in
Yes,
order?
sir, we reviewed all of those amendments, they're all in order, and so we recommend.
Ahí dos son muy bien. Second, Your Honor.
Moved and second to approve, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Pursuant to section 551.074 and 551.071, we will go into executive session to discuss order of salaries. The purpose of discussion, House Bill 2073, discussing the legality of the special crime unit, the formation, and to discuss the auditing of county departments. We'll be back out shortly. 7:55, and we're back in open session. First item we discussed was order of salaries.
Motion to approve, Your Honor. Second.
Moved and second to approve as presented. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The other thing we discussed was House Bill 2073. Is there a motion to approve
Ahí
that?
dos son muy bien. Second, Your Honor.
Moved and second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next thing we discussed was the legality of the formation of the Special Crime Unit. That was just for information, no action needed. And then the last thing we discussed was the auditing of different county departments.
Yes, Your Honor, on that one, I'll make a motion to approve our county judge to hire an outside firm for auditing any or all county departments.
I'll second the motion.
Moved in second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I also move, yeah.
Second.
Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.